Being that today is November 24th, 2013, I wanted to wish a very special happy birthday to a member on HoldTheLine.com. His name is Eagle Scout, and he's an awesome member, comments on everything, and shares all of our stuff on Twitter. To that, we thank you, sir, and we wish you the best of birthdays ever. Be safe out there, buddy. And a big old welcome to Kyla SG93, a new member on HoldTheLine.com who bothered to change her profile picture. So we welcome you, Kyla, and yeah, comment on as much as you can. Gamers, what is up? Vernon here, and if you're not familiar, this is Gaming Bytes. And over the last year, 2013 to be exact, we've seen a lot of sequels, which is good. That means that people enjoyed the first or second or first 3 games and they wanted 5 more. So what I want to do with this video is kind of take a look at some of the sequels that have come out. Yes, they are okay additions to the franchises that they hail from. I've heard a lot of complaints about there being too many sequels and stuff like that, and I've come to the conclusion that yes, while we do get tired of sequels, we can't help but ask for them a lot of times, like The Last of Us, which came out a few months ago. It did conclude, as in they did what they needed to do, they wrapped up what they needed to with the story, but it's still open. It's still open for a sequel, and people naturally asked for another one. They were like, we love this game, we want another one. What I want to do in terms of looking at sequels that came out this year is basically see if they were, you know, in my opinion, tacked on to make an extra buck, and could they survive if, let's say, they weren't tacked on to a franchise that already exists and instead made into its own intellectual IP. So let's get started. Now, the first one that I want to take a look at is Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Now, that came out earlier this year. I have to say that I wasn't thoroughly impressed with it because the Metal Gear series is not a favorite of mine. I'm not saying that it's bad or anything like that. It's got a big following, and I've tried to follow the story. It's so confusing. Yes, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is one of those titles that is a part of the series but isn't a part of the series. We have the main character Raiden, who came from previous Metal Gear titles, yet he's in this game that's a hack and slash that steps away from what we know Metal Gear for. And granted, they used Solid Snake in the Super Smash Bros. Series. I can't say that this spin-off with Raiden is really worth the price of admission. I mean, I watched the gameplay, I watched the cutscenes and everything like that, which last forever, but I can honestly say that if you just made it its own game, I don't think it would have done poorly. I mean, the action looks pretty cool, it just didn't fit with the Metal Gear that I know, and the Metal Gear that I have grown to understand is more about stealth and substance than about hack and slash and, you know, running on walls and slicing through things and picking things to slice before you slice them and stuff like that. That's cool, but I can't really see it being a part of the Metal Gear series as a spin-off title, as a viable title that can hold weight along with the other games, especially Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, which I actually did watch that entire cutscene movie on YouTube. I didn't play the game because, again, I'm an Xbox guy, but seeing that, then going to Revengeance, I think that Revengeance could have been its own game. Slash the Metal Gear Rising altogether, just call it Revengeance. Have it be a cyborg that's going around and slicing stuff, and Revengeance could be a new word that you tag on Twitter or something like that, and it could be an interesting standalone piece, an interesting intellectual property that could hopefully stand on its own as a hack and slash, as a big action, flashy, summer popcorn thing that people are interested in and that people might just want to invest more time into if they made sequels for. It would sell well, I think, even without the Metal Gear tag on it. Now, another title, I mentioned it earlier, another title that I think, you know, is kind of like a prequel, and I think it was kind of tacked on just to make it a little, you know, an extra buck, is Gears of War Judgment. Now, Gears of War 1, 2, and 3, played all 3 of them. I enjoyed them for what they were, which was, you know, big cover shooters with muscly, you know, marine type folks. And, you know, the stories didn't really make sense to me, but I did enjoy the action. So the problem that I have with Gears of War Judgment is that, first of all, I don't give a crap about Cole and Baird. And second of all, this is supposed to be like a prequel kind of deal, so it happens before the events of the Gears of War trilogy. I just don't care about Cole and Baird enough to want to buy a game at full price to see their story before the Gears of War trilogy. I don't really care too much about that. And if they just had it as Marines fighting this alien force, change the characters, change the main opposing force, I think they could have made another franchise out of this, you know, if not a standalone IP, because you see so many sequels and stuff like that that are tied into each other, and it gets kind of saturated. These new characters that we're getting to know, who are they? You know, immerse me in their lives, immerse me in what happens to them before this invasion hits. You know, just try to make it different, you know? I mean, do you think that if it didn't have the Gears of War tag with these two unimportant characters that it wouldn't sell? And the next game on my list is Army of Two, the Devil's Cartel. I couldn't really wrap my mind around because I played the first Army of Two, played it through a bunch of times, earned a lot of money, bought all the guns, kind of played multiplayer a little bit, but I was interested more in the single player because I loved that story. And then I tried to get into the second one, the 40th Day, and just couldn't. I really couldn't. They tried to make choice a factor in it, and I wasn't feeling it. I just would rather it be a shooter and not all of this, you make choices and, you know, then you see the ripple effect of how those choices affect. No, just give me, you know, the customizable shooter that I enjoyed in the first one. Now, I haven't played this one myself, again, like the other two games that I talked about. I'm basing all of my opinions off of what I've read, what I've seen in terms of trailers, in terms of gameplay, in terms of cutscenes. Now, I gotta be honest, Army of Two was a great game, was a great intellectual property. Now, I would have liked it if they had just stopped with the first one. I just think that it would have done better if it had just been a new IP and if they had just left Army of Two off of it. Because when I think Army of Two, I have this image in my brain of the first game and how much fun I had with it. And that's the problem that I'm having with these games that are prequels or sequels that are tacked on to the series without the same characters or with unimportant characters that I just don't care about. And I don't know if I'm making any sense here. This is starting to turn into a rant for me, so I'm going to have to stop soon. I feel like those few games are games that if you just took the franchise title off and made it its own intellectual property, I don't think we would see as much of a problem in terms of sequelitis, in terms of just tacking something onto a franchise, seemingly just because they don't really do anything for the franchise. In terms of Gears of War Judgment, it's a prequel. You could say the same thing for Batman Arkham Origins, but I don't know. I guess it depends on how good it is, too. Hit the subscribe button, maybe even leave some comments talking about the games that I've talked about in this video. Maybe leave some suggestions for what you'd like me to talk about in future videos. And feel free to go to holdtheline.com to check out the other content that we have. Vega Goose also has his own video game review session that he does every other Friday, as well as Vega Goose Says, which comes up every Monday, and I believe the latest one is about the gaming console wars and stuff like that, and how he feels about that. Also check out the Gamer Input series by Matthew Cross, also known as Dark1778. He talks about a lot of issues going on in the gaming industry, and I think it's worth a look. Also, be sure to check out Hero Talk, which is on Saturdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where Siren, myself, and Vega Goose talk about movies, as well as give our opinions on them. Not recent movies, because I don't have the kind of cash to go see every movie that's in theaters right now. It's like $12 a pop now. Twitch.tv/HTLTV, and just comment and, you know, leave some messages with movies that you'd like us to talk about, your opinions on the movies that we are talking about. Just join the chat room and have fun with us. Otherwise, my name is Vernon to it. I hope you enjoyed getting to it. Much love to you all, and I'll see you next time on HoldTheLine.com. And folks, I know that Black Friday is like right around the corner, and to those of you who are celebrating Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, but I just want to say, please be safe out there. I've worked count them, two Black Fridays in a row at GameStop when I used to work there, and I gotta say that it was some of the most stressful times, just non-stop, just, you know, having people buy stuff, having people yell at you because you ran out of stuff, and just hearing stories on the news about how people behaved in other stores, and just it's some of the most stressful stuff. Those of you who are in retail, I do not envy you, and I apologize for the actions of other human beings. It was one year where this woman, you know, was at a Walmart, and as soon as the doors opened, she walked in, turned around, and sprayed everyone with pepper spray, and then ran into the store. So, wow, it's gotten that serious. So just be careful out there. If someone grabbed it first, let it go, move on, get the next thing on your list. No need to fight, no need to brawl over items that you can get much cheaper if you wait. So just be careful out there and just enjoy the Thanksgiving. You know, just I know that Christmas has become very commercialized and very, you know, you don't just eat for Thanksgiving and then, you know, get drunk and pass out. You know, you eat and then you pile in the car and you go to a store or something like that and wait in line until midnight or 10 o'clock. Some Walmarts like reopen at 10 p.m. The night before, so that's on Thanksgiving, so that's just ridiculous. But just be with your families, be safe, be happy, have fun. Happy Thanksgiving.